makes you so sick at heart that you can't take part. You can't even passively take part.
Andrew Yang, the failed presidential candidate and failed candidate for mayor of New York City, sat down with David Pakman and spoke about a range of issues. But one of those issues was whether he was okay with having extremists in his new Forward Party. Now, his answer to that question showed no doubt whatsoever that this man is a grifter who is happy taking, the most deplorable elements of society and banding them together in this new attempt at a third party, but all under this guise of like, let's end tribalism. Let's speak to the extremes. Let's get everyone together. And from the very start, I thought he was just complete utter bullshit. Like from the time that he was a candidate. If you are as cynical as I am and you can read between the lines of what people are saying, and I think this is the single best quality that you can have in terms of political analysis, be incredibly cynical. You should have seen this coming. Same with Tulsi Gabbard. Andrew Yang, from the start, was a grifter with far-right sympathies. And now there is no shadow of a doubt. Here is that segment of the interview.
I'm really curious about the coalition that you envisioned to some degree. When I told my audience that you were going to be on, the most frequent question I got in different iterations was, who exactly that currently considers themselves to be on the right does Andrew Yang imagine bringing into the Forward Party? And to kind of make it a little more specific, we would imagine that there's lots of progressive Democrats, more centrist Democrats, even some folks who really consider themselves centrist, maybe in the kind of line of even like a John McCain, who like the idea of some of the reforms you're talking about. And that all kind of makes sense to me. When I think about people who believe Donald Trump won the election, vaccines, the COVID vaccine magnetizes you, causes autism, whatever the case may be, et cetera, right? The package of ideas that I'm talking about. One, are those people that would even conceivably say this Forward Party idea that Andrew Yang proposes in a coalition with the left makes sense? And number two, are these even people that you want as part of your coalition?
First, let me say, I want everyone as part of the coalition,
Okay, so that from the start is problematic, but it gets worse.
If you can vote, we can disagree on a lot of things. It's all to the good. If we agree on the fact that this duopoly is not working, it's designed to turn us against each other and sink us. So that's one of the principles of the Forward Party, is that, look, I can disagree with you on a lot of stuff, but if we can make common cause on this, then we can go back to disagreeing when the democracy is actually set up to succeed. When there are...
So again, this is why, like, online these days, it's often the boundaries of what ideology people have is so blurred, because you see the one universal factor that unites a segment, a big and growing segment of the far left, and almost the entirety of the far right now, is anti-establishment. So being anti-establishment, essentially, what he's saying right now is that as long as you're anti-establishment, as long as you're against the bipartisan system, it doesn't matter if you're a complete, utter, batshit insane racist. I'm fine with that. As if this was the one difference that that mattered, aside from all the other issues that, would separate a society where the values of the far right were implemented. I don't think that anyone who is anti-establishment from the left would really want to live in the kind of society that a Richard Spencer would want, or a Steven Crowder, or a Ben Shapiro. And I'm not talking here for a moment of like the fake closet right-wingers, dumb lefts like Jimmy Dore and the tanky sphere. No. I'm talking about people who are sort of being caught in this wave of being anti-establishment for the sake of being anti-establishment. And in some back of their lizard brain, think, oh, maybe we do have a common cause with some people on the right. The answer is you don't. You don't. There is just such a manifestly different conception of society and of people's roles in society. And the very definition of who deserves rights, who is human, who deserves their identity, are ideas that these people are fundamentally against. So it's incredible that you would think that these people should be welcomed into any political movement that you are promoting.
You know.
So let me ask. So even, to make it really specific, if people on the right say the Republican Party is too centrist, I'm an extreme white supremacist or something like that, but I think we need to get, we need single transferable vote or whatever in campaign. You still welcome that because you're on the same page on that one issue.
Yeah, if they're going to help us transition to a more effective democracy, I don't need to know what their stance is on things that I disagree with. People have a sense of where I'm coming from.
Okay.
But right now, I believe that there is an existential threat to the country as a result of the greatest design flaw in the history of the world. That is, and if you will help us resolve that design flaw, then we can have a discussion about anything else under the sun.
So basically, that design flaw that he's mentioning is basically like first past the post voting. The U.S. electoral system in a nutshell, that he wants to replace with rank choice voting, which, is fine as a proposal. I don't think his tiny third party will be ever strong enough to actually manage to get it done. But this is inconceivable. This is absolutely inconceivable. Like I said, this is basically saying that this is the one thing that is not leading to democracy, but none of the views that the far right have could possibly impede democracy. Are you kidding me? These people believe in ethnostates. These people believe, practically in some cases, that as long as we murder other people from not from our tribe, it's fine. We can then frame it as self-defense. Where have we seen that before? This is insane. This is insane. But I'm glad he's saying it openly, because there is no shadow of a doubt. And if you notice, he sort of pauses. He sort of thinks about it. He's like, well, I don't know what goes through his mind, but I suspect he was like, if I say no, if I say yes, they're going to think I support white supremacy. If I say no, I'm going to lose my far right audience and the money that they are bringing into the table. I choose no. That was his choice. But this is on the record. And I have to say, David Pakman, I don't always agree with him politically, but I think he's a fantastic interviewer, because he has this way of making a conversation seem, cordial and pleasant, while sort of insidiously grilling them. It's like a debate bro that doesn't actually say that it's a debate. But he brings out these questions. He's really, really, really good at it. I think he doesn't get enough credit for his interview style. But that was the best way you could possibly frame this, and especially in a way that sort of demanded a straight answer. So good job with that.
At a time when the democracy actually will stand the test of time, when we transition to a multi-party system where you can't make any autocratic or authoritarian decisions, you have to somehow get 2 or 3 other parties on board.
Okay, all right, fair. So on the question of, is everyone literally welcome? The answer is yes. That's fine. That's legitimate. So that's clear. Now,
what he just did is really good. Again, I'm praising his interview style because it's really good. What he just did is essentially sort of everything that someone may have been doubting. Like, no, did he really say that? He's like, okay, you just affirmed this, right? Was there any pushback from Andrew Yang? No. So there is just no way, no reasonable way anyone after watching this snippet of this video can say that he's not actively appealing to the far right. And the thing about Andrew Yang is that he doesn't just appeal to, the far right reactionaries. He appeals to a segment of those far right reactionaries that often is not labeled as far right reactionaries, and that's the tech bro crowd. Which him, as a former entrepreneur, and he talks a lot about technology, a lot about entrepreneurship, etc. He has those people kind of sympathizing with him. So it's two separate elements of the far right that he is actively courting. And I don't think anything like any serious leftist at this point thinks anything in his agenda is serious, aside from his universal basic income proposal, which over time he appears to be less interested in. And even then, the way that he framed that program is not the way that a leftist would have framed it. It was basically a replacement for public social spending, as opposed to a supplement to public social spending, not a complement to it, which is really the point. His interpretation of UBI is in fact incredibly regressive. It benefits the people who less need social assistance today. So that's the fundamental problem of his framework. But yeah, he doesn't make the same efforts to court the far left as he does the far right. So, his audience says it all. If you look at his tweets, the people who follow him, yeah. And after, like I said, after this video, there is just no doubt whatsoever what his intention is, what his grift is, because this is a grift. Because those people will bring him money. Yeah, he talks a lot of nonsense. I don't want to go through this whole video because frankly, I can't stand this man. I just can't stand his man. His Twitter account is ridiculous. Like it's so cringe. It's so cringe. His ideas are whack. He doesn't really know what he's talking. This guy should not be in politics. Go back to being some douchey tech bro or something. But he should not be in politics. He's absolutely toxic to politics. And he has sort of a demeanor and a face that makes him always look like he's like a human self-help book. He's always sort of like happy, and he's always like, oh yeah, it's the language of like, let's bring people together. Let's no. You gotta see between the lines. You gotta read between the lines. You gotta see through this. He's in it for the fame, the power, the money. That's what he is, a grifter. So, yeah. The other thing he said during this interview, and I don't want to go through until he says it, but he mentions that the problem with the U.S. is tribalism, and that's because there's just two big tribes. But then he says what we need is a third tribe, and I just heard that and I thought, this is just ludicrous. Like, if the problem is tribalism, why do you want more tribalism? Adding a third party and making people tribal about that party does not resolve the issue of tribalism. So yeah, this guy is just like seriously. I would love to hear the comments of anyone who thinks this man is serious. Because just don't. I saw him as a fraud from the very, very start. I know not everyone has. I know that some people over the last couple of months has finally seen through this, sees his whole charade. Good for you. Good for, seeing through the disguise, seeing through the grift. But I definitely urge people, especially people who were once fans of Andrew Yang or fans of Tulsi Gabbard, please be more cynical. Please be more cynical. Remember that a politician saying what you want to hear will make you immediately blind to everything else he's going to say. And just because there were perhaps a policy or two or a statement here and there that they said that you found appealing, you've got to put it in like the bigger picture of other things that they've said, and going into detail of what exactly that proposal entails. And again, no one who really looked into Andrew Yang's UBI policy would have come out of that without knowing that it was a farce. So, just don't take the talking points that appeal to you and that appeal to your worldview. There is much more to people than that. And yes, be more cynical. On that note, if you like this video, please like, please share. Most importantly, please subscribe. And we're almost at 500. Maybe we are already. I don't know. Almost at 500. I have a little surprise when we get to 500. So once we hit that, I'll make a video announcing. And see you next time.